let's start at the Parc des Princes
Again.
Because I think most people agree this is going to be the tightest Champions League group. Mm-hmm. I was curious to see how Milan would approach this game.
Yeah.
They decided to approach it by playing this very high line.
Yeah.
And Paris Saint-Germain said, "Ooh, you want to play a high line against us when we've got people who can pass the ball and we have Mbappe who can run and Dembele who can run? Please, go right ahead." And they win 3-0.
Yes, because as you said, everybody in Paris, including me, I think including Luis Enrique and his staff and the players, expected Milan to have more of a median low block. So for the first 15 minutes, when we saw Milan pressing high, having Giroud
element of surprise.
Yes, and it kind of worked for 15 minutes. And then PSG adapted, and then Milan were completely lost, I think. We will come to Milan after, and there's clearly something not working there. I don't know if it's in terms of efficiency all around the pitch, if it's collectively, individually, if Giroud is the guy, if Pulisic, all of that. But I just thought that once PSG had worked out the high line and the press, and they're starting to feel more comfortable with Zaire-Emery and Vitinha, Dembele, Kylian, etc., then maybe Pioli should have reverted back to, okay, we tried the high press, it kind of worked, but now it's becoming dangerous. But instead, he kept doing it, and then they got punished for it.
One of the people who punished them, and I know you want to talk about, is Warren Zaire-Emery, who, I was watching the video the other night, and you kept repeating he's only 17 years old because he does not look 17 in terms of the way he plays.
Yeah.
It's a bit like Lamine Yamal. The dude does not look like a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised. I know Luis Enrique has no issue with kids and stuff like that, but to kind of go and hand him the keys to the midfield the way he's done thus far is pretty remarkable. And I think it's fair that we talk about him, as much as we talk about Mbappe and Dembele and N'Golo Muani, Marquinhos and whatever else.
Yeah, because he's become a key part in that team, one of the most important parts in that team. Already at the end of last season with Galtier, he got more minutes. You could see him at Montpellier, he scored a lovely goal, and you could see his confidence was growing. And he was only at times 16 by then last season. He's turning 18 next month in November, I think. And you're right. I mean, the maturity physically is impressive, but he's always been like that. Even when he was 12, 14, he used to play a year up, 2 years up, because he was always quite big and quite strong. But the maturity in terms of football as well is you can be tall and big at 17 and fast and not have the kind of football IQ that he has. But he was clearly very advanced always in his path to that first team. But now to do that at that level, it's still, and again, you could look at the Milan midfield of Musa, Reinders, Krunic. This is not Xavi, Busquets and Iniesta. I understand it. However, at Newcastle away, in what was a disastrous night for PSG, he was PSG's best player. Against Dortmund, he was very good. And again, last night.
Is there a Bellingham parallel? Obviously, Bellingham is a freak of nature, right? But is there a little bit of the Bellingham in him in terms of the type of player he can become?
Yeah, and the maturity, certainly. I mean, Jude never really looked like a 17-year-old. He looked like a 25-year-old at 17. And I think Warren very much looks like a 25-year-old now when he's 17.
I want to touch upon the fact that it was interesting because the reaction from Pioli after the game was
quite positive, right? No?
Yeah, he said we have to continue attacking. He pushed back on people who suggested that they should not have been so aggressive with their high line. And Christian Pulisic, it was interesting because he came out and said that was not a 3-0 game. He thought the game was much closer. And I like the fact he took ownership. There was that play where it was a mistake defensively by I forget who, but so he breaks through. He has a clear run at Donnarumma.
Yeah.
You expect him to take him on.
Completely.
And instead he puts this diagonal pass for Giroud, which is too far for Giroud anyway. Yeah. And so Giroud still finished, but wasn't going to finish. I like that about him. I like the taking ownership of the mistake so publicly.
Yeah, and I think hopefully he learns from it because it was clearly the wrong decision that he made. And at that time, the 2-0 down, if you come back at 2-1 with 25 minutes to go, so it might be a completely different game too. So it's a bit of a shame. And I thought he did well. The pass from Leao when Donnarumma made the save at the near post, that comes from Pulisic too. But still, in the end, there was just not enough, I think, quality for Milan in the last third of the page. Their XG is 0.6. It's 5 games in a row, Gab, in the Champions League where they don't score.
Yeah, going back to last season,
Yeah.
of course.